Plus, China now is offering zero tariff to 53 African countries.
That is very good news. Got all the taxes from China to Africa.
Full tariff exemption 100% for all products from 53 African countries that have diplomatic ties.
But no taxes are cut. Something good for me.
Your moment has come. The rules of global trade are being rewritten. Why? This video is gonna take you in a full interpretation of this what policy is. Follow me. At China-Africa Economic and Trade Expo, China made it official. Full tariff exemption 100% for all products from 53 African countries that have diplomatic ties. Only Eswatini, who recognize Taiwan, excluded. The rest of Africa countries, all covered. This is a unilateral policy, not reciprocal. It means that Africa doesn't need to cut any tariffs on Chinese goods. Now, China is opening its door first. Of course, someone will call it as PR stunt. Really? This stunt is no conditions, no unfair clause, purely exemptions for 53 countries for more than 8,000 goods. And don't forget, China grants 97% exemptions of 33 African countries as far back as 15 years ago. You might think this must be a move to survive Trump's tariff war.
Tariff, properly used, is a beautiful word. One of the most beautiful words I've ever heard. It's music to my ears.
Sure, you can say that. It's a technical counterattack, but that is just recent headline. We won't get missing the 25-year backstory. That's what we take. In 2000, China launched a forum on China-Africa cooperation, FOCAC. This is a real systematic empowerment machine for China-Africa cooperation. And in 2005, started offering 97% exemptions for 33 least developed African countries. Over the past 2 decades, thousands of kilometers of rail, hundreds of ports, decades of medical aid mission, long-term industrial park. This move today is just an upgrade in society. It's a natural step for 2 decades strategy. With even US offer the same tariff-free access to Africa before China. And let's take a look at AGOA, the US version of market access. 37 sub-Saharan countries included, loaded with political conditions, must be democratic, must pass human rights review, must ensure transparent governance. Mali, Burkina Faso, 2 uncooperative. Picked out. Let's break it down. Have a very clear comparison of those 2 policies with their country coverage, duration, policy conditions, benefiting sectors, and their support measures. During Trump's presidency, the U.S. went full retreat in Africa. AGOA is set to expire in September 2025. Now it's applying 10% of universal baseline tariff of all trade partners, including Africa. So now what happened? African goods in the US get more expensive. Orders get cancelled. Local currencies depreciate. Let's look at the fallout. Lesotho, 70% of exports were textile. US hit 50% tariffs. Orders gone. 40,000 workers are at risk, and most of them are women. Botswana lost the advantage on diamonds and beef. Textiles collapsed too. South Africa hit with 31% of tariffs on their cars and farm goods.
South Africa, 60%, 30%, and they've got some bad things going on in South Africa.
The whole supply chain disrupted. Madagascar, vanilla and pearls left with 47% tariffs. Production dried up. Economic stagnations followed. As the U.S. pulled back, China is doubled down. Comes with full coverage of 53 countries. Permanent exemptions, no demands to change the laws and policies, no political intervention, full respect for each country's development path. Not only removes tariffs, but also build up factories, train workers, and do the effort to launch Africa into the global supply chain. And you might be curious, what is China doing this? Why open its door? Does it mean it's becoming a new power broker? And what are the pains and gains for all the parties? Now, China has opened its door completely to Africa. The first time ever the country to offer zero tariff to the entire continent. This is also what many developed countries dreamed of, a very low tariff to entering the world's second largest consumption market. LV product charged like over 50% of the tariff. Few vehicles like BMW, Benz being charged even over 60%. This is rewriting global economic playbook. But do you think this is just about export preferences? This is putting out a call to the whole world manufacturers. Come to African future factory. Such a low tariff here in this land. Why are you not building your factory here, then export it to China? We're not talking about 3%, 5% of margins. We're talking about 30% to 50% of differential windfalls. We all know that tariff is a main source of income of a country. How much is China giving up, and what does it stand to gain? Yes, short-term, it's losing real cash. Billions of tariff budget gone. Parts of the raw material processing products gone. Margins on low-end manufacturing compressed. But here's the twist. Yeah, it is a pressure, but also a fuel. Africa holds 70% of the world's cobalt, 63% of manganese, and 30% of lithium, which are all essential for China's green energy supply chain. And China's 1.4 billion consumers is also a fuel for African manufacturing dreams. Moreover, in the next 10 to 20 years, Africa's young population will explode. 1.4 billion people entering their prime spending years. They will reshape the global market from demand to values. It is a proactive move, both diplomatic and industrial. Africa and China are perfectly complements in global value chain. The production capacity that China hopes to optimize is what Africa currently needed in the current stage. So why is China so confident? Let's look at the number. China-Africa trade jumped from $40 billion in 2005 to $280 billion in 2023. That is 6 times growth. In Q1 of 2025 alone, trade hits $134 billion, up 12.4% year-on-year. Meanwhile, US-Africa trade is $71.6 billion and is apparently shrinking. Africa-China's cooperation has become the new core of globalization. It is a global supply chain reshuffle. Egyptian oranges, Kenya coffee, South Africa wine, with tariff cuts, their cost drops 20% to 300%. They directly connect with consumers. In South Africa, Legacy Auto Parts Factory are pivoting to EV components, cooperated with Chinese tech. Africa companies, through joint venture, are moving from cottage industry to industrial scale production. Africa is now the core zone of next generation of supply chain. Okay, now probably someone will jump and say, China is just chasing Africa's population boom. Let's ask, is population enough? To turn population into purchasing power, you would need the railway, the road, you need electricity, you need education, you need enough workers. That's why from 2000 until now, China has helped build over 100,000 kilometers of road in Africa, 10,000 kilometers of railways, over 1,000 of bridges, over hundreds of ports in Africa. Tazara and Benguela railways, over 4,003 kilometers connecting island resources to the ports, deployed thousands of medical teams, treated over 200 million of people across Africa. This isn't just giving money, they're paving the road for last mile to turn the population into the purchasing power.
Where are you going to?
We are going to Kapili,
Kapili. Where is Kapili?
Zambia.
How long does it take from here to there?
3 days.
3 days?
Yes.
Wow, so what are you going to do on the train?
Here in Tanzania, there is a national park. So when it's reached there, we'll be taking photos.
Oh, yeah.
This is vital to build the infrastructure that makes money. The world doesn't have to be you win, I lost. It can be you win, I win, we all grow. Zero tariff equals to zero requirements. To be honest, zero tariff has already smashed the biggest iron gate. But if product standard don't match, lab test fall, custom paper wall get stuck, who can show the path to success? Here where China is doing different. There is a green China for it. Kenya avocados used to take 20 days to get past of Chinese customs. Now just 3 days. Behind that, a whole support system is designed for Africa. Technical alignment, custom training, 2019, Quality Inspection Corporation to train African product inspectors, honey, peanuts, soybeans, and fruits have already achieved stable export to China. Since the zero-tariff took effect in September 2024 across 33 least developed countries, Africa-China exports hit $21 billion by March 2025, up 15% year-on-year. Coffee export to China surged 70%. Cocoa beans up 56%. It isn't just cutting tariffs, it's also expanding access list. So who are taking actions? 18 African countries and 22 new agricultural products are now approved to export to China. Hunan province has already established 3 major trading hubs for African coffee, nuts, and agricultural products, forming 6 emerging supply chains for African origin goods like coffee, cashew nuts, macadamia nuts, cocoa, dried chili, and sesame. If you're curious about who truly benefits, first the beneficiaries must be exporters, miners, agribusiness owners. Like Tanzania cashew nut farmers, their incomes double thanks to the tariff-free policy. Second tier winner, companies who building factories in Africa. For those who want to succeed through manufacturing. Now Africa is the idealist place out of the world to replicate and to scale that success. Why? Because they're enjoying double rewards. Cheap raw material in Africa and the free tariff access to China market. For sectors like textile, appliance, their cost drop by up to 20%. Even logistics tell a story. Shipping a container from China to Africa, the cost will go from $3,000 to $4,000, but from Africa to China, $200 to $300 only. However, who might miss the opportunity? Who might get left behind? There's no basic supply chains, logistic networks, and skilled workers. Even if tariffs are gone, it might still miss the opportunity. Let's pull up the 2050 forecast ledger. In 2050, the population will going to grow from now 1.4 billion, by then 2.5 billion. Labor force will going to grow from now 60%, by then 70% of the population. Middle class will going to grow from now 350 million people, by then 1 billion people. And the consumption power grow from now 2 trillion, by then 16 trillion dollars, 8 times growth. But there is also a brutal truth. To shipping such a huge consumption market, it will request $200 billion of infrastructure construction of yearly need across the Africa countries for this purchasing power realization. So what's the new challenge for Africa? Africa's sovereign debt to GDP ratio is now 65%. IMF is ringing alarm bells. Debt risk is rising. The question is China setting the debt trap or it's offering a different path? Some media love repeating like
China is drawing Africa into debt.
Is that true? According to World Bank data, 35% of debt are coming from Western financial institutions, and China only 17%. If we take the most quoted example, Kenya's Mombasa to Nairobi Railway, the West called it a classic debt trap. But what reality is, freight cost dropped 40%, 50,000 new jobs created, tourism revenue doubled, and the loan just 2.3% of Kenya's external debt, totally manageable. From 2020 to 2023, China deferred $5.3 billion in African debts, cancelled $1.8 billion in loans, extended Zambia rail date by 20 years. In September 2024, China announced officially in Beijing Action Plan that all least developed African countries that have established diplomatic ties with China will be exempted from their outstanding intergovernmental interest-free loan debt due by the end of 2024. That's a fresh start. And for these loans, China isn't there just to dig and dash. 50% of the annual investment from China is into infrastructure. Ethiopia, there's Eastern Industrial Park, has localization rate reached 89%. Over 25,000 of skilled workers are trained. Mobile phone exports up to 10 times within 5 years. That's not extraction, that's transformation. Not by preaching, but by building. Not by dominating, but by empowering. China-Africa Economic Blue Book 2025 make it very clear. They show three major shifts are already underway. First, agriculture from raw goods to value-added export. 2, manufacturing from import Africa to made in Africa. 3, digital economy from offline trade to cross-border e-commerce and fintech. And the sectors, these are the future. Industrial production, agri-processing, telecommunication, digital platforms, green energy, financial inclusion. In Kenya, this handmade soup studio show sells 3,000 units amounts to Chinese customers via live stream. In Nigeria, Transsion is building a full digital lifestyle from smartphones to mobile banking, leapfrogging into the fintech age. At its core, this strategy is breaking the old value chain model. Now, Africa-China's cooperation is rebalancing the gains across the chain. Thank you very much for spending your precious time with me. It's my pleasure. Hope this video can help you out on some points. Hope you can subscribe me and like the video and making comments if you're curious about something you will come to ask. See you next time. Bye bye.